Hey everybody, welcome to Breaking Cinematic Universes. That's right, I am Trevor, joined as always by Patrick, and I'm going to say this every show because this is going to be kind of my intro dealio. If this is your first time listening, your 400th time listening, your 1800th time listening, well, first of all, thank you for listening 1800 times. We
love ya.
We break down the cinematic universes for all your comic book movies. That's not just the phenomenal MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's also the DC EU, the DC Comics Extended Universe. That's also the Spider-Man Sony Extended Universe, or whatever the hell they're calling it this week.
Yeah, and we'll be talking about that. I think next week we'll probably talk some Venom news that's coming out.
Ooh,
It's gonna be good. Yeah,
one thing about Corona that's, and I'm gonna curse a little bit here. You know the one thing about Corona that's pissing me off?
Yeah, what's up?
There's a number of things that are pissing me off. Number one, I was supposed to have already seen Ghostbusters Afterlife by now.
Yep. It popped up on my calendar, so I have a Google Calendar. Yes, because that's the level of nerd we are. I have Google Calendar alerts to movies where I'm like, oh, I want to see that movie. I add it to my calendar to be like, hey, reminder, this movie's coming out. So that popped in my Google Calendar as a notification last week, and I was very sad.
Okay, first of all, Patrick, I dress as a 38-year-old man as a Ghostbuster with a full-size replica. I don't think you've actually ever seen my replica pack.
I thought I saw your replica pack. I know you've seen your rig and and the Ecto, which it's not yours, but at the same time, riding around in that's pretty awesome.
No, that is absolutely awesome. It's actually funny, when my father passed away in March, I got his golf cart. So I was talking to a couple of the Ghostbuster guys. I'm like, hey, let's turn the golf cart into a little mini Ecto 1.
Little mini Ecto.
And they're all for it. But what also pisses me off is no trailers.
Yeah.
Like, we should have had an Eternals trailer by now.
We should have
had a Venom trailer by now. We got Morbius, but that's only because that was pre-coronavirus.
Yes.
And the aforementioned Ghostbusters, we should have had another trailer. Well, no, another trailer, my ass. We should have been seeing the damn movie.
We should have seen the movie. We should have seen Black Widow, and we would have the stinger at the end of Black Widow that would have probably given us more info on Phase 4, possibly led into Eternals. There's so many different things it could have done, and we have no idea what's at the end of. Well, there are rumors, but we're not gonna talk about that today. There are rumors as to what is on the end of the after credits and the mid credits for Black Widow, but we have no idea if that's accurate.
No, and we there's a rumor Tony Stark is involved somehow, some way in the movie. I'm not going to go into spoilers because I've actually heard from people who have seen the movie online, and I kind of know what at least one or both of the aforementioned Marvel end credit scenes may be. But once again, not going to say it. Going to keep it a secret for those of you who aren't a douchebag and go looking for that kind of stuff online like I do.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go find it, go find it. If I don't want to add fuel to the trolls who want to spam everything, spam the chat. It's like, let's just not feed them.
I've read a couple of them, though. Two of them sound legit. But by the way, shameless self-plug for your other podcast, TheLanCave. Dude, when y'all talk about Far Cry 6, I want in.
Well, we're going to talk about it just a little bit this Thursday live on Facebook, but it's just brief. When we go deep on that, I'll definitely let you know, because our show this week is covering Devolver's press conference, Nintendo's Treehouse, the Ubisoft one that just happened, and I think there's one more.
The most exciting thing about that game is A, they're going back to a tropical locale.
Yes.
B, the protagonist, the character you play, is actually going to have a voice, which it hasn't had. God, since I want to say 3,
yeah,
maybe 4. I can't remember if the Pagan Mim Far Cry had a voice. I
Yeah.
know 5 and New Dawn didn't,
Yeah.
but it's not going to be the first person cinematics it was in the last few.
Mhm.
So you'll actually see your character.
In
And
regards to the cinematics, yeah, it's still gonna be a first person shooter, but at
exactly.
least that's what yeah, I mean, they haven't told us otherwise. I was on it. I mean, this leaked. We'll get off this topic very soon if you guys don't care about video game news. But this leaked last Thursday, last Wednesday or Thursday, and I was in as soon as I saw Giancarlo as
In,
you know,
in.
I was in immediately. Rumor also, because this does have to do with our show. Rumor still happening. It's pretty strong that he is going to be Mr. Freeze.
That would be interesting. The
He has
other,
the intensity. He has the gravitas for that character. I'm in.
I remember watching him on a show from NBC called
Mhm.
Revolution.
I remember the show. I don't remember him on it.
He was such a dick.
Yeah. He does that well though. So, anyways, we'll get off of rumor territory. The rumor
Yeah,
is that he is going to be Mr. Freeze, which I'm all about. I've
as long as it's not
I
Schwarzenegger.
No. See, my Mister Freeze, because straight. I mean, well, I don't remember. I actually no, I do remember. My introduction to Mister Freeze was on the Batman the Animated Series, and
Same.
for those of you who didn't know, Mister Freeze up until that point was just a guy who froze things, and that TV series, that cartoon, gave him a reason that added his wife as part of the storyline and her chronic illness, and that's as to why he's doing what he does. It gave him motivation because before that he just froze things. He really didn't have motivation, and it turned that character into that villain into an understand. You may not like what he's doing, but you understand his motivation, and you understand why he's driven to those means, even if
Yeah.
you wouldn't do it. Yeah.
No, and I mean, Mr. Freeze is a great character. He's one of the
Hmm.
few Batman villains that you kind of do sympathize with the
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Uh, Riddler, you don't sympathize because he's whacked out of his mind.
I
Um,
love the Riddler. I absolutely love the Riddler. I know he's nuts, but he's like, I'm smarter than all of you, and I'm going to prove it.
by the
And for
way,
the most, Mhm.
by the way, just for you,
Yeah.
The Iceman cometh. Pray that
Yes.
business
Um,
cold to your pleas of mercy.
so good. It's so good.
it's so bad, it's so good.
I know, it's cheese. Actually, as we're ranting about these different things and rambling about these things, another I wouldn't say it's a rumor, it's a fan theory. The fan theory is that Batman and Robin is a movie, and actually, I heard someone said Batman and Robin and Batman Forever. Definitely, Batman and Robin is a movie being made in the universe where Batman exists. So that is like as if there was a real Batman and then they made a movie and that was over the top. So it's a meta joke. I don't believe that. I think it's just buying way too much into Joel Schumacher trying to bring up some camp back into
And,
Batman.
and God
And
rest his soul,
yep,
recently passed away. But Joe and Anthony Russo
yes,
recently threw a little bit of shade the DC way. All this talk about the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever, which is supposed to be a lot darker and a lot more focused on
Mm,
Bruce Wayne and his demons. And the Snyder cut, which we're going to get in early 2021, early to mid 2021,
mhm.
which is going to be when they announce that. I'm going to literally put it on my calendar and tell my wife at the time, my fiance now, but my wife at the
Yep,
time, go, honey, don't bother me this day.
yep,
I'm going to watch that
yep.
thing like 6 times. But Joe and Anthony Russo throwing a little bit of shade when somebody asked them, will there ever be a director's cut of Winter Soldier, Civil
Mhm.
War, Infinity War, Endgame? And they actually said, all the MCU directors' movies are director's cuts.
Ooh.
Basically saying, Marvel lets us do whatever the hell we want to do within
Mhm.
reason. We're not like shackled like the DC universe is, because you've heard from David Ayer now, you've heard from Zack Snyder how
Yep.
their films were not their vision.
Yeah.
And I've never directed anything. I've wanted to, and I'm currently working with a couple buddies of mine on a Ghostbuster fan film that we're going to do. And I could not imagine being the director, being the one that the studio chose,
Yeah.
and then having them say, well, yeah, we brought you in, but here's what we want. We don't
Yeah.
know what you want. Here's what we want. I would almost look at them and say, go screw yourself. I'm done.
Yeah, and that, I mean, that's happened with certain directors. If a director has enough notoriety, then then they work with them. You have other directors who will just do whatever the studio wants. But to me, the magic happens when you trust a director. You know they're a good director, and you trust them. Let them do what they're supposed to
Well,
do.
look at Joe and Anthony Russo. Perfect example.
Yeah.
What big budget movies had Joe and Anthony Russo done prior to Captain America and the Winter Soldier?
I can't. I don't
Zero.
remember offhand. 'Cause I thought
Zero.
I said, didn't they do music videos or shorts?
No, they were directors on the show Community, which is why you've
Oh,
seen
that's right.
Daniel Cudi, which
Mhm.
is why you've seen Jim Rash,
Uh-huh.
which is why you've seen, I believe, Yvette Nicole in Endgame. You've seen different little, community actors pop up.
Yeah.
They never directed a big budget movie. Those two are the most sought after directors right now in Hollywood. They have 4 movies, and I'm going to double check this.
Mhm.
Box Office Mojo. I
Say
know
while he's go ahead. Sorry.
I know both Endgame and Infinity War hit $1 billion.
Mhm.
I don't know about Captain America
I don't
Civil
think
War.
Captain America hit $1 billion. I want to say it was like 600 or 700 million. I may be wrong in regards to box office.
Domestic opening was 179 million on a $250 million budget. Let's see here. Domestic, gross domestic 408 million. I'm trying to see the worldwide here. It never totals it up. Why is it never total it up?
I was going to also mention now, not only them being heavy hitters, but then you have directors who, we now know how talented they are. But like Taika Waititi, right? Like,
Oh my God, yes.
so if you look at what he did leading up to,
It did do $1 billion worldwide.
Okay. So I was wrong. If you look at like what Taika did leading up to it, right? So he did What We Do in the Shadows. He did some TV series stuff, but nothing big. And they trusted him with Ragnarok. And then because he's talented, because people knew that he was talented, they gave him a shot. And we can say the same thing about Christopher Nolan. The Nolan universe is as good as it is and revered as it is because of Christopher Nolan, and because if it wasn't him, he got a talented person. I always forget his director of photography. Nolan works with a specific director of photography on like all of his work, and he trusts him. He trusts his writers, his brother on most of it, and he gets good product out of it. Where you have others that you're like, oh, we're going to hire a director, and now we're going to get involved and ruin it, in my opinion.
Oh no, and I'm currently adding up the worldwide box office for their 4 movies.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier did not break $1 billion.
Okay.
Obviously, Infinity War broke $2 billion worldwide. 2, 0, 4, 3, 4.
How about Peyton Reed that did Ant-Man? His previous movies were Bring It On.
Did he
and
really do
Yes
Bring It
Man.
On?
Yes. And he did Yes Man, which, you know what? Bring It On is hilarious and has a cult following. Yes Man was meh. I mean, you could like it however you feel about it, but he has a lot of work that he did. But if you look at it, it's it's not like he was put in front of some like large projects before it.
No.
They gave him Ant-Man.
Sean Gunn. Or not,
Yeah.
James Gunn.
James Gunn. Yeah. It's another great example.
I mean, he did a
trust your
great-
director.
No,
Trust
he
your
did-
director. What's that?
He did a great movie called Slither
Yes.
with Nathan Fillion. By the way, I have the total worldwide
Mhm.
of the Russos' 4 Marvel movies.
Yeah.
6,713,878,114.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. And again, you found someone who's talented. You trusted them with the product. They delivered,
But
and it's not just them. It's the team that they orchestrated, because the director
exactly.
is getting that team to work and getting the best out of all those individuals.
The only downside is, and they've said this, they're not coming back to the MCU unless they get to do the one project they want to do.
Was it Secret Wars?
That was Secret Wars.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I thought that's what it was. So if you hear about them signing, chances
No
are,
one's coming.
like in the future, if we hear, oh, they're signed on for 2 pictures, 3 pictures, then we have an idea that it's probably Secret Wars or something else big that they've been.
Oh, they'll keep that they'll keep
Oh, yeah.
that so under wraps.
Yep.
Just because they've made it so known that it'll be a bombshell. Like I'm just going to throw this out as a bombshell.
Yeah.
Batman v Superman. Nobody had an idea it was coming when it came. It wasn't until that Hall H panel at Comic-Con when Zack Snyder stepped on stage and said, "Hey, blah 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 blah.
Yep.
The next movie is going to be," and he put that graphic up of the bat symbol with the Superman symbol inside of it, and everybody knew. Everybody knew what that meant.
Yes.
I think it's going to be something similar. I think you're going to have an unknown Marvel project on the slate, and then maybe even next year at Comic-Con, Marvel will go up and do their Hall H panel.
Yeah.
And they'll say, by the way, Joe and Anthony Russo are coming back, and they're going to flash the Secret Wars graphic on the screen.
I mean, if it were me, if I were in charge of Marvel, which I should be, if I were in charge of Marvel,
no, Pat.
Yes,
Pat,
yes.
I love you like a brother. I truly do. You're invited to my wedding. I truly love you like a brother. You ain't got shit on Feige.
Hey, Feige needs help. Okay, he can't do everything himself. He's got to offload some of the work.
No,
and my
you
pitch
get him some coffee.
No. So, well, you know what? I'll put it this way: we were talking about Joel Schumacher earlier. Do you know what he did? How he got into? Wasn't it Schumacher who was Streisand's hairdresser? Kathleen Kennedy was Steven Spielberg's basically, what was it? She basically was a note taker. She was a glorified secretary. She was basically like, just take notes, get me coffee, that's it. And she opened her mouth and made good suggestions. And other than Star Wars, okay, you can put that aside. If you look at her track record leading up to her being put into Star Wars, that woman did some amazing work, and it was all because she was at the right place at the right time. So here's what I would say to Kevin Feige: how you need to go to Secret Wars. You need to set up, first of all, we need to bring in the Marvel's first family. We need to set the stage, and then you don't do a stinger. You do it as a stinger, as an after credits. We don't do it as you do it as an after credits where you show the something that would lead the real fans to understand what it was. In my opinion, the best way to do that would be the black suit, but there's other ways that you can hint at Secret Wars, and in my opinion, you do that so that way you get people clamoring, trying to figure out what the heck this Easter egg is, what the heck this reference is for. And then, because it's 2020, going to be 2022 probably by the time they do this, then you just tweet it out like right after and say, hey, the Russos are signed on, and people will put those 2 and 2 together. It doesn't have to be a Hall H thing anymore. That's how I would do it.
No,
break the internet.
The last time they shocked the world, and we'll get into our DC talk. We will. You and I have a problem, like when we don't even write some of this stuff down like we do, but we don't write all it down. We've had almost a 25-minute conversation nearly, and it was unplanned. The biggest shock, and they're very good at keeping secrets, was Marshala Ali as the new Blade. Nobody saw that coming.
Yes. I am all for that too. That's another one. How do you weave that into the Marvel Cinematic Universe? I know we're going to get something standalone, but Morbius is an easy way. Yeah.
Yeah. But Morbius is Sony, unless they made a deal with Sony.
Unless they made a deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's going to be interesting. We'll see how it goes. Or
Um,
they may just do a straight up standalone movie, which we haven't seen Marvel do in so long.
no.
I mean, straight up standalone movie that doesn't even have a reference to the Avengers.
Okay, so going back to a prior question you had asked, this is Wikipedia, and sometimes it's
Mhm.
right, sometimes it's wrong, but this
Yeah.
is what is written. Joel Schumacher in 1972 served as a costume designer for Play It As It Lays and designed the wardrobes of Diane Cannon, Joan Hackett, and Raquel Welch for the film The Last of Sheila.
Mhm.
In 1973, he served as costume designer for Woody Allen's Sleeper, Paul Mazuski's Bloom in Love. In
I figured out it was
1974,
John Peters is who I was thinking of. John Peters, sorry.
yeah, in 1974 served as production designer of Killer Bees,
Yeah.
and later served as costume designer of The Time of the Cuckoo and The Prisoner of Second Avenue and Interiors.
Yeah. So what I was thinking of real quick was John Peters. John Peters was Barbara Streisand's hairdresser. He went from doing that to being a movie director.
Okay.
And I will
Well,
say, if you haven't listened to Kevin Smith's rant about him being involved in Superman, the Tim Burton Superman picture, go look that up because John Peters was a trip.
no, well, Kevin Feige, he started out, he was a producer on the first X-Men film.
What did he do before that?
After high school, Feige applied to USC School of Cinematic Arts, the alma mater of his favorite directors Lucas, Howard, and Zemeckis. His first 5 applications were rejected, but he persevered and was accepted on the 6th. His early work includes being assistant to executive producer Lauren Schuler Donner on Volcano and You've Got Mail.
Wow. Okay. So he got in as an assistant, and then just honestly, if you can get your foot in and you can and you time your suggestions the right way, it's amazing how much these people grow. Yeah, sorry, I was John Peters, by the way. What was it? Yeah, John Peters was the director of Wild Wild West, and I want to say he did
Oh, dear
Superman
God, don't remind me of that
Returns.
movie. Please
Oh
don't.
yeah, like
I
all
love
of
the
his movies,
soundtrack.
all of his movies are schlock.
I
Yeah.
love the soundtrack. I love the Wicked Wicked Wow,
Oh, it's a
Wicked Wow,
banger.
Wicked
Yeah.
Wicked Wild Wild West, Jim West, Desperado.
Desperado.
I love that song. I know it by heart. Like I can do that at karaoke and not even need to
Mhm.
look at the words. That was such a shit movie. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it was. Kevin Kline didn't even save that movie, and he was trying. He was so trying.
Selma Hayek's boobs couldn't save that movie.
Yeah. Oh,
And
anyway,
that's saying something because
yeah, I know.
I mean one of the things I'm looking for in Eternals is Selma Hayek in a skin tight outfit. I mean, come on now.
She still looks good. I mean, she still looks good, but like Kevin Kline and Kenneth Branagh could not save that movie. Selma Hayek tried, but like Kevin Branagh's played Loveless, and great performance by him, chewing up the scenery. I think that if you look at that movie as just a ridiculous like romp and a schlock, then it's okay. But people thought that was going to be like a huge blockbuster. That would not have happened. Never would.
No, and I agree. I mean, was it a fun popcorn film? Yes, but the problem was that after Will Smith hit it big with Independence Day, he just seemed like he took every freaking role that came his way, and it just didn't matter at that point,
Yeah.
And it's disappointing because it's like, come on, man. You want to sit there and be like, dude, you're better than this. But it didn't happen. And yeah, his movies are so bad. Like,
Yeah.
dear
Yeah.
God, man.
He's and I will say that my favorite, I mean, if I'm going to talk about Will Smith movies, Men in Black was great, but Men in Black is good because you have Tommy Lee Jones playing against him. And
Oh yeah, Tommy Lee Jones can make anybody good.
jeez, that, I mean, it's the classic comedy pairing, right? You have to have someone who's the straight man, and you have to have someone who's the funny man, and that
Dragnet.
Yep, Dragnet. I was going to say one of the best. I think for our generation, David Spade and Chris Farley.
Oh my
That
God,
pairing
yes.
was just perfect. So, it's. I think that even anyways, I'll stop ranting about that, but that's still my favorite Will Smith. Pivoting to the movie news, and I think as we're talking about directors, I think this segues really well. Trusting your director, you hire someone who has notoriety, then you give them what they need. You have some negotiations. So Darren Aronofsky was going to do a Batman movie,
Yeah, he was going
and
to do Batman Year One, if I remember
yes,
correctly.
yes,
And that
and
was
there was
after
a lot of
he did,
falling out. Mhm.
it was after he did The Fountain.
It was after he did the fountain, and I want to say it wasn't after he did. Shoot, I can't remember. I know it was after the fountain, but he was essentially the studio, and he butted heads with the studio repeatedly. There's a lot of news on things on that you can look up, but the what came out recently in an interview was that Darren Aronofsky, one of the things that they butted heads on, that the studio completely refused to let him do or entertain, was he wanted Joaquin Phoenix as Joker. Joaquin Phoenix wanted to work with him as Joker, and the studio said, no, that's not going to work.
Dumbasses.
Yeah. So now we know what happened in that. Now we know that Joaquin ended up doing the Joker again. It would have been a very different Joker if he had gone Darren Aronofsky. It would have been directed different. It would have been a different performance. It would have been a different version of Joker than what we got out of the Joker movie. But in hindsight, whoever said no to that has got to be like feeling like terrible that they missed out on that, because if it was one of the executive producers or something that would have put Joaquin Phoenix in as Joker, then they would have made money on that, and probably a lot more than they would make off the Joker. Because if you're doing Aronofsky's Batman Year One, you're going to have a franchise as opposed to a single movie, which they still say they don't want to do another Joker. But I should say Joaquin Phoenix doesn't want to do it, but they're trying to pressure to get a sequel out of him.
By the way,
Mhm.
I'm Mr. On my other podcast, I'm Mr. Sound Effects. I find sound effects for everything. For those people that didn't want Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, here you go.
Yeah, it's Joaquin Phoenix he's okay, and this is one of those situations. It's the same way I feel about Heath Ledger. That's not how I picture Joker. That's not how I read Joker when I read the comics.
I see Hamill's voice.
Yeah.
Like if we're talking live action.
Yeah.
If we're talking live action, and we've talked about this on the show, I hear Hamill's voice.
Yeah.
Nicholson's body.
Nicholson's body's good. I think that and I know that this has been suggested like an insane amount of times, but I still think Willem Dafoe as Joker would be amazing.
It could be. By the way, I've got a question.
Yeah.
So Kevin Feige has 4 movies of the 23 that have been made in the MCU, 4 movies that have grossed over $6 billion. The dude is only worth $200 million.
So that means that whatever he is doing for Marvel and Disney, he's not asking for a lot. Yeah, he's not asking for a lot. They're not paying him enough. 200 million, that's still good and everything. But you'd think that he'd be worth more than that. And the fact that, without him, Marvel would not be where it is.
No, if Avi Arad was still in charge,
yeah.
Yeah. We would not have Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. We would not have Chris Evans as Captain America, Chris Hemsworth as Thor. It would be a bargain basement MCU.
Yeah, it would be the Dark Universe, Universal Monsters universe all over again. Which, you know what? I did. You know what? I absolutely love Universal Monsters. I really want them to succeed at one point or another.
I hated the new Mummy.
It was bad. So again, Tom Cruise negotiation. He said that he needed to have X amount of like percentage of screen time on the movie had to be him. and other negotiations that I think tanked the movie. I think that I forgot her name. She was in the Star Trek movie as well. She played Jayla in that. Like, I think she did a fine
Oh,
job.
she's
It
also the
was
chick in Kingsman with the sword
yes,
feet.
yes, she's great, but the movie was terrible. The movie was terrible, and they had to make Tom Cruise the focus. I'm not going to spoil the movie here. I know it's old enough movie, but we'll say that it's not really her movie. It's really his movie, and it's really setting up what he's going to do
Oh,
in the future.
Sophia
Yeah,
Boutella.
yes, she's awesome. Um, and I think she did a great job. I think that there were tons of bad choices in that movie in regards to what they were trying to set up something that I don't think worked moving forward. And because of that, we're not seeing, was it Javier Bardem was going to be in the Dark Universe? It was going to be a pretty interesting, was it Javier Bardem and Johnny Depp, right?
I know Russell Crowe, obviously, but I
Yeah.
can't remember.
Yeah, Johnny Depp, Russell Crowe, Javier Bardem, and Sophia. Like, that was your universe. That would have been very interesting, and we didn't get that at all.
Mm-mm.
So yeah. So anyways, again, bad direction, bad negotiation. I really want them to succeed. I really want them to succeed. That, I mean, there's something just classic about Dracula and the Mummy, and like putting in Van Helsing, and it's so good.
I'm interested to see who would have played Van Helsing.
Yeah, I don't know if they had that casting. I'll have to check, because
Um,
that's a great one. Which if you haven't seen, and I'll admit I've only seen a little bit of it, but the Hammer films, the Hammer Dracula movies, where Van Helsing is Peter Cushing, is really good. Peter Cushing, Grand Moff Tarkin, if you guys didn't know, from Star Wars, playing with what's his name, Christopher Lee. So you have Count Dooku and Grand Moff Tarkin going at it. How cool is that?
no, that is absolutely 100%. And dude, here's the thing: I'm an old school. Like, I love vampire movies. I do. One of
Yeah,
my favorite vampire movies is John Carpenter's Vampires, with James Woods as this grizzled vampire hunter, because it made it more realistic. Like, watching that movie, you're kind of sitting there going, okay, I mean, that they don't look like they're like fashion, models or whatnot.
yeah.
Um, but there is a Van Helsing movie coming. It's just not tied into the Dark Universe, and it's
Oh,
going to
that's weird.
star. Well, it's going to star Jason Momoa and Peter Dinklage.
Wait, hold on. Is this like a legit?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay. Well,
Jason
I'll have to
Momoa
look
and
into that.
Peter Dinklage in talks for Van Helsing, Vampire Hunter. So basically, Dinklage would play Van Helsing, and Momoa would play a vampire that's teamed up with him to basically run scams.
Okay.
And Momoa's character has sworn never to drink blood, blah, 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 blah. All right. So even though the Dark Universe is a cinematic universe, we're branching off here,
All right.
as we always do. So Joaquin Phoenix was supposed to be the Joker in that movie, and they didn't want him. And I mean, I don't get why, because I don't know if it was just Todd Phillips or what, but his portrayal of the Joker was phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Agreed.
It absolutely was. And it's unfortunate because you may never get to see it again. But one person I think could actually play a good Joker, besides Willem Dafoe,
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, Johnny Depp could do well. It could do really well with that. I won't go into the lawsuit that's going on with him right now, but I think after all that clears up,
With Amber Turd.
yep, Yep. I'm
And
really looking.
and rumors are circulating she is no longer insurable, and she is off of Aquaman 2.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. There are so many. There's so many other actresses that you could cast in that role that could have gotten a better. You would get an immensely better performance out of. Yeah, Isla Fisher is just one of them, but you could name off tons of others that could get a great performance.
Amelia
So,
Clark.
yeah, Amelia Clark could do it. She still doesn't have a place in any of these universes. So yeah, why
Teresa
not?
Palmer could do it.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Jason Momoa could do it. Oh wait,
Jason
he's
Momoa.
already
Have Jason Momoa just play both roles. You know he could do it.
Yeah, I mean, look
It's
what
a
he did in that
comedy.
Rocket Mortgage commercial.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you told me this before the show. There's also some new Pattinson news.
So, kind of Pattinson.
How do you go kind of Pattinson?
Because the Batman. So
That's like going
not
kind
Batman.
of vampire, which Pattinson
Yeah.
has done.
Yeah. So yeah, not that Pattinson, but the project. The Batman project for Batman. I'm trying. Robert Pattinson's, and I'm trying to remember the director's name
Matt
offhand.
Reeves.
Yeah, so Matt Reeves is signed with HBO Max to do a TV series on HBO Max existing in that Batman universe within Gotham. I hope that they don't name it something to have to do with Gotham. I think it should have some type of Arkham tie-in, because Gotham, already has something people remember very, very recently. But we don't know a lot about it. But Matt Reeves has signed HBO Max TV series tied into the same universe that is within the Robert Pattinson The Batman. So
Which is
doesn't mean
interesting.
that.
Which is interesting because the rumor is, and we'll find out at fandom, that Affleck has re-signed for a Batman project on HBO Max.
Yeah. So I don't know how this all adds up.
I'm still upset they haven't put HBO Max on Amazon Prime TVs yet.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Amazon Prime TVs. Oh, as an app?
Fire TV, yeah, basically.
Oh, okay, Fire TV. Okay, I was gonna say, what are you talking about? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's probably some, I don't know, some reason for that, but I don't understand why. I mean, they can't. They haven't even added it as an add-on to Amazon, have they? Can't remember if they had.
I don't think so. I mean, I
don't
tried
know.
to do the free trial over July 4th weekend. And when I went in my Amazon Fire TV and I clicked around, I'm like, oh, crap. Okay, it's not there. Awesome.
Yeah.
But, I mean, HBO now does have Shazam and Aquaman, so I watch those.
And they're awesome.
They
Yeah, and that's when you give the director, you give the writers, you give them what they need. You get a movie like Shazam, you get a movie like Ant-Man, you get a movie like Ragnarok, which are amazing in their own ways. So yeah, Aronofsky unfortunately didn't get that, and in this case, I mean, thankfully we haven't even seen. What's that?
I don't think he was a big enough name at that point.
I think
if we're being 100% honest, he made the movie The Fountain. Great. Yeah. Awesome. To be considered a top tier director, even back then, hold on, I'm pulling it up on Box Office Mojo. Fountain. Hopefully I spelled that right. Yep. Darren Aronofsky. It starred Hugh Jackman, Rachel Weisz, and that's really it. He was writer, director. Okay, actors. Yeah. Hugh Jackman, Rachel Weisz, Sean Patrick Thomas, and Ellen Burstyn. Now, take a guess worldwide what this movie made. Take a guess.
Oh, I'm going to guess under 100.
Way under 100. It didn't even make its budget back.
That's terrible.
35 million. It made $16,468,343. That tells you why he didn't get what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
He done a movie that made its budget back or doubled its budget.
Mm-hmm.
He would have gotten what he wanted.
Yeah, that's true.
He didn't bring anything to the table.
Yeah, well, I would agree, but again, he didn't bring it to the table. But I don't know how the future project would have been. You know, sometimes you stumble a little bit. But yeah, that's a pretty big stumble. I'm just impressed. We haven't even seen The Batman, but the fact that HBO Max and I guess Warner tied into it believes in it so much that not only is it going to be an alleged trilogy, but we're going to get a TV series out of it. That sounds like they're laying more groundwork than it just being kind of a a side project to me.
No. Well, I mean, technically Gotham was a side project. It had no connections to any of the cinematic universes. We saw Bruce's parents die for the 400th time. The only person that's died more than Bruce's parents is Uncle Ben.
I have a feeling that Bruce's parents have died more than Uncle Ben.
Did he die in the 70s TV show?
He didn't die in the Batman TV show. He didn't die in that, but the amount of times the amount, not only movies but cartoons, because every single Batman cartoon shows them dying.
You mean Spider-Man cartoon?
I'm talking about Batman cartoons.
Okay,
Batman cartoons
Here's
show.
what bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even know what Uncle Ben looks like in the MCU.
Not in the MCU, no.
Like, we have no idea. We know Marissa Tomei is still hot. But we have no idea who Uncle Ben was.
Yeah,
it's flashback.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't
think we need it. Need it.
At the beginning of Far From Home, when he was going through his entire, Tony Stark, breakdown that he was having.
Yeah.
And then he saw that mural on the wall. That would have been the perfect time to throw in an Uncle Ben thing because he's been there already. This is not the first time he has lost a father figure. That would have been the perfect time to throw in that little flashback. And I'm hitting my hands to emphasize that.
It's true. But I feel like maybe they feel like they don't need to add a flashback to Uncle Ben. They don't need to even reference him.
I don't think he's ever actually been referenced.
No, just move forward. I mean, I don't think it's really needed. I think there's one reference to him, but it's in passing. Like, I think that that's why they kind of smartly did that when it came to bring him into Civil War. They're like, let's make him already have his powers. We already know his origin story. We just introduce him. You just say Queens and the theater erupts. That's all you needed. As soon as it said Queens, we knew what was happening. And yeah, he didn't have his suit yet, but he got it. He got it immediately. We already knew the story. We knew the setup. We knew his powers. We knew who the character was. And that's, because they're just, they know what they're doing over at Marvel.
Hold on. I'm reading something here.
That's okay. I mean, it just as you're reading that, I'm just I'll continue to banter, but like the fact that DC has so many projects going, to me, it feels like they're not just investing in one. Mm-hmm.
Hear how he was subtly mentioned. His initials were on Peter's suitcase in Far From Home.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I think she mentions it too. But yeah, we know that history already. We don't have to keep hitting on it.
Can somebody tell DC that?
Yeah, that's the problem. DC keeps trying to build that foundation. We don't need it. We know how Batman became Batman. It's one thing that I actually liked about the Ben Affleck movie. It's like we know who he is. We know who Batman is. Let's just go.
And you got the subtle start to Batman v Superman kind of showing it, but it wasn't a focal point. It was part of the, in essence, opening credits. But seriously, DC, if you're listening to this, and you're probably not, Mr. Ed is getting tired of getting beaten. I mean, seriously.
Yep. Yep.
You're beating a dead horse by continuously killing Thomas and Martha Wayne.
Yep. I really hope that we get what's his face as Thomas Wayne in flashback.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. He's the only one that looks like Thomas Wayne should look
Yeah.
in Flashpoint.
Yeah, he looks freaking great. Yeah, I really want that. But yeah, I feel like DC is resting on their intellectual property. They're resting on the fact that we know Wonder Woman, we know Superman, we know Batman.
They're resting on their laurels.
Yeah, they really are. As opposed to saying, let's build a foundation that we can and a dynasty, a freaking dynasty, a cinematic dynasty. Marvel, their 24 movies in 12 years was it 12? I think 13 or 14 if you include Incredible Hulk, right? Still, it's amazing what they've built, and because of that, because they built it slowly, we now have this mythology that is shared in a cinematic universe that has more fans now than I think have ever been fans. I wish some of them would buy comic books though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they built it slowly. They built it methodically. They put one person in charge of the whole thing.
Yep.
And once again, I think he's grossly underpaid for what he's done.
Yeah, you know about his about their getaways that they do, right? Like for when they plan out the phases, when they plan out, I think it's once a year. They basically rent a cabin. They bring a bunch of people there. I don't know if families are involved. I don't know how that works. But they essentially do writing sessions and brainstorming sessions that plot out what is going to happen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he brings in. Yeah,
they're one of the best in continuity. Like, there's not a lot of errors in their movies.
Yeah,
there's movies you watch, you're like, wait, his shirt was untucked a second ago.
mm-hmm.
But it almost sounds similar to Ghostbusters, because back when Ivan Reitman came on Ghostbusters, him, Aykroyd, and Ramis sat in his basement in, I think, Martha's Vineyard over a holiday weekend and wrote the script.
Yeah.
Like, they would spend 8 hours a day writing the script for Ghostbusters.
Yep. It's magic when you get those moments. They're like there are other movies I can think of with that, or like Dr. Horrible's Sing Along blog, and Cabin in the Woods, both Joss Whedon projects.
Remember, everyone's a hero in their own way.
That's right. Both amazing projects that were basically, you put a couple people together. They're like, I just want to do something, smash out a script in a matter of days, and then go. It's amazing. It's amazing when that can happen, when you can strike, when lightning can strike like that. And
so yeah. I'm going to bring up the elephant in the room, since you mentioned the name Joss Whedon.
Mm-hmm.
How much are you believing? Because now the stunt people from Buffy have come out and said he was a bit of a dick on set.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of people who are rough on set, and I don't know how much to believe. I don't know how much of it is he wasn't getting what he wanted, so he was frustrated. I mean, there's some amazing directors who aren't nice guys on set. If you're not giving them what they want, that they're assholes. I mean, Scorsese's like that. And what's his name? Kubrick. I mean, Kubrick was one of the worst people to work with of all time, but had some amazing films. I'm not going to condone what Kubrick did, but when you have others like Scorsese will, unless you're essentially on his list of people that he really, really trusts, like, you do it the way that he wants you to do it, and he doesn't give you a lot of, I don't know, like, he gets irritated. He gets really irritated if you're not giving him what he wants, if you're not essentially working at his level. There's a lot of athletes that are like that. I'm not that I'm going to I'm not going to apologize for anything Whedon does, but you're doing a job. Sometimes someone's got to have a firm hand, and
Now,
not physically, but
now,
seriously.
do I think DC should have given him a little more leniency? I mean, he did direct the first 2 Avengers movies, which made a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I do think he should have had a more, even though Zack Snyder was going through a loss in his personal life.
Mhm.
I believe his daughter passed away.
Mhm.
He should have kind of, because apparently from what everything said, Zack Snyder selected him to take over.
Snyder selected him, and Snyder was out, which, I mean, and by out I mean incommunicado. I completely understand. I mean, I've not been in the situation that he was in, but he was like, I need to take care of myself. I need to take care of my family. And from that point on, it basically was, Joss, you have to finish this. And the studio then decided, like you mentioned, I think last week, where the studio decided, cool, we can do what we want now, because we weren't going to get what we want out of Zack Snyder. We're going to get it out of Joss Whedon, who's basically hired to just do a job.
Yeah, it's not his vision. It's not his movie. And honestly, dude, as much as I love the first Avengers movie, it always kind of felt like a TV show to me.
Yeah.
The feel of it felt very TV.
Yeah.
Like the slow motion scene with Thor and Cap.
Mm-hmm.
It felt very TV to me.
A little bit. And I will say, as much as I like Joss Whedon, he's amazing in TV. I think that a lot of his directing, from what we're seeing now, can get a little dated. I loved his banter, though. I absolutely love his banter in the original Avengers movie. He knows how to punch up a script. He really knows how to make it. How to write dialogue. He knows how to make that really work between characters. He understands the characters and how they would talk to each other, what they would say to each other. But yeah, from a director point of view, yeah, I completely see that.
No, and I'm trying to see the last thing he directed. I'm wondering if it was the last big thing he directed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he actually did 2 episodes of The Office. Never knew that. He actually didn't get credit for directing Justice League.
Who didn't? Joss Whedon?
Yeah.
Oh, it still went to Snyder?
Yeah, because I'm looking on IMDb right here.
Mm-hmm.
The last things he has directed was an episode of The Nevers, a TV series, Avengers Age of Ultron, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the pilot, Much Ado About Nothing, The Avengers, Glee, Dollhouse,
Mm-hmm.
Commentary the Musical, Dr. Horrible, The Office, Serenity, Angel, Buffy, Firefly. Boom. That's it. Like, he did not get credit.
Yeah.
And
I wonder if that's a contractual thing, or that's what he requested. Like, he wanted to finish it, but he wanted Snyder's name to still be on it, as a way to say, I'm finishing your project for you. I'm not taking it away from you.
Wow. I'm going to tell you this right now. He did the screenplay for one of my favorite animated movies.
Yeah, what's that?
Titan AE.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he also was a writer on 4 episodes of Roseanne.
Yeah, it's also amazing if you ever and some of these things are on IMDb, some of them aren't, because script doctors are like one of my favorite things. Like, it won't be on his IMDb, but he was a script doctor for some stuff. But my favorite script doctor in all of Hollywood is Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher did some amazing work for scripts. Yes, and she's not on IMDb. She was the script doctor on Sister Act.
Really?
Yeah, she did a lot of, like, because she was a writer as well, and she wasn't getting acting work, and also didn't kind of want to do acting work because she aged, and it was that, okay, you're no longer Princess Leia anymore. So how do you cope with that in Hollywood as a woman?
Was still hot in the burbs.
Oh yeah, she was. But I mean, she was hot in everything. But in regards to Hollywood, it's hard for Hollywood to, depending on who the actress is. Like, it's like they have, like, it's either you're an attractive young woman or you're old, and it's hard for the middle ground. We're getting better in regards to Hollywood. Helen Mirren, well, of course, yeah, but like there's the middle ground that it's hard for historically for women to traverse, to say it's basically you're attractive young woman, a mom, or you're old, and there's like not a lot of, and we're getting better, like I said, but she was trying to
Except Marissa
navigate that.
Tomei. Marissa
Yeah, well,
Tomei is
of
very
course.
upset that she took that role when she took it, because now that's all that's coming in.
All
Are
that's coming in is what?
like roles for women, roles that are portraying her for her age.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah,
And
and that's
Marissa Tomei
what I
now
mean.
is
It's hard to navigate that. I don't, obviously I have not had to navigate that as a woman, but Carrie Fisher's talked about that a lot, where she was saying, she's transitioning from being who everyone expected her to be and who people remembered her to be when she was in Blues Brothers and when she was in Star Wars and everything, and then you have this other woman where Mark Hamill kind of had a similar thing. He was in The Guyver and he was in some other work
oh my
that,
god, the
right?
Guyver.
So good.
Oh,
So good. But he had a
so
hard time
bad,
transitioning. That's
but
why he
so
went into
good.
voice. What's that?
So bad, but so good.
Yes, it is. I
It,
have
it's
a
almost
special
like
place in my heart for it.
it's almost like the movie The Wraith
I haven't seen that.
with Charlie Sheen and what is it? Nick he became a director. Cassavetes.
Yeah, I don't know that.
But Marissa Tomei now is 55 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't look a day over 40. The problem is she's 55 years old.
Yep.
What roles do you think there's going to be? She's not going to do My Cousin Vinny Part 2.
No, but that's what I mean, is like it's when they're writing roles for women in Hollywood, there's not as it's not as diverse, where they expect women to fit a certain mold, where it's not as expected when it comes to men. Men can age less gracefully. Men can get fatter, and no one says anything about it until you get really big, like Russell Crowe right now. Uh, or if you're gaining weight for a role, no one says anything. But a woman who gains weight, not for a role, but just happens to age and gain weight, everyone will just rag on her. So
Yeah.
it's rough.
Well, I think that does it for us this week. I think we've covered quite a bit of topics. Check out, if you're a sports fan, check out the scrumsports.com. Hockey's coming back. Baseball's coming back. Football's probably going to be played with no fans, just like the other two sports. And Patrick, your shameless plug, not that I didn't already give you one.
Yeah, if you're already subscribed here on our RSS feed, then you got TheLanCave, our gaming podcast that comes out every week, where we talk about gaming news. You can also check out TheLanCave on YouTube, where you can not only find this show, but also gaming news, video game reviews, and game streaming.
Awesome. Well, that does it for us this week, guys. Thank you for taking the time to listen. We appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.